trying to tell
after
you that
I've done it.
beforehand, but
Glad
you
to see
weren't
it's
good.
good.
It's just not going to
So
happen.
I have to ask Dave actually, and there's a point I want to ask you, right? Wayne Hennessy is one of the shittest Mignolet imposters around, right? Does it not frustrate you as a Wales fan that Ward isn't getting a look in?
Yeah, but Coleman's a terrible manager. So
Would you not be backing him
Not
for the
according to
LFC
Coleman.
job when Klopp is sacked for being incompetent?
It'd be very hard to play Danny Ward, who is Liverpool's third choice goalkeeper, and not
also
play
Scottish.
Wayne.
I feel a bit bad for Ward, really, because I don't understand why Klopp brought him back. Like, why bring him back? He's not
We were
getting
discussing
any
that
games.
last
It's
time,
like,
Dave. Yeah,
you
what's
know,
he going to do?
It's
Leave
just
him where he was and get some football.
exactly.
Premier
And
League
if
football
he's
as well.
starting for Huddersfield or Brighton or whatever, maybe he gets a game for Wales then, you know?
Yeah.
But I mean, I wouldn't. You know my view on this, in that I would have started Karius from the start of the season and see what he's about. But if you're going to chop and change, and he's going to start Mignolet, and that's probably the right call, because I don't think Karius is ever going to show his best form when he's playing one game in 5.
Yeah.
You know, it's just never going to happen for him. He's too young a goalkeeper. He's got to get used. He's playing with different centre halves all the time, different midfielders, different fullbacks. It just can't work like that. You've got to pick a keeper and stick with it. And if Karius has a dodgy few games, which he probably would, as we talked about a lot last season, you've got to ride that out and just say he's the keeper. And if he's not good enough at the end of the season, you get rid of him and you buy someone else. But don't stick the fucking guy we know isn't good enough back in goal.
Yeah, we're asking this question every week, and I don't know why we're asking it now, because it would make sense to put Karius or even Ward in, because I don't rate Mignolet one bit. And I said at the back end of last season, if we're still discussing Mignolet and it's the pros and cons of him 10 games into a season, there's something wrong.
But
and we're still doing it.
We talk about the lack of character in the side, right? And the lack of leaders in the side. Well, sometimes the people who have that are not the best players, right? And, you know, Karius is a confident cunt, right? And he is far more vocal than Mignolet. He's far more, you know, assertive in terms of what he wants to do. So we can either have a silent goalkeeper in Mignolet and a silent centre-half in Matip and God knows where else, or we start taking some risks here and say, actually, what we want is one of the reasons I constantly defend Lovren, despite him being very difficult to defend, is that I've never seen a player get knocked down so much and get back up and go, fuck it, I'm going to go
self-belief
for
is
it.
unreal.
I mean,
Yeah, it is. Doesn't
it's
mean he's any
something-
good, though.
No,
I don't know if it borders on delusion, to be
No,
honest.
it
with you,
doesn't
but
mean he's
fair
any
but
play.
it's
good,
something
yeah.
to be. It's something to be. You can't
Admired.
complain about a lack
It's
of
like your man
character.
Muhammad
and then
Ali, isn't it?
the
Yeah,
guy
there's no
that
tanks in Baghdad.
Yeah, but you can't complain about a lack of character and then be annoyed at the one guy that's got a bit of character.
Yeah,
you know, you've got to go. Actually, maybe if Henderson had a bit of Lovren's character, maybe things would be. You know, maybe be a better captain. You know,
I do, and I'm a big fan of Jordan Henderson, but you have to start to quantify. Maybe I'm sure if people actually went and properly analysed it, there's been tons of really successful, quiet, calm captains.
David Beckham.
Well, yeah,
For example.
you know what I mean. Like you never really saw, but he led by example by being excellent.
Yeah, he wasn't vocal.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
unfortunately, Jordan Henderson isn't leading by being excellent or by rallying those around
Look
him.
at Gerrard, he wasn't the most vocal in the world.
He was.
No, but he
you know
wasn't
what?
really.
But I tell you what he was.
He led by example.
Yeah, sorry, he led by example in the sense that he would go in and I was only David Thompson was only talking about this last week, saying the one thing Steven Gerrard did was he would decide, I'm going to go in and smash somebody in the first 5 minutes or 10 minutes, or if he saw that the game was dropping off and the crowd were gone quiet and stuff like that, he would play an 80-yard crossfield ball. Not because it was the most effective ball to play, but because in his mind he was thinking that's the sort of ball that will get people off their seats, get the support behind us again. You get the feeling that maybe isn't in Jordan Henderson's
but
locker.
sometimes I think the captaincy can elevate the player, and sometimes I think it can bring a player down. And I think with Henderson, I don't think it's doing him any favours having the captaincy. You know, look at Gerrard. It elevated him. It made him the fulcrum of the team. He was much more influential. Look what Spurs have done now. They've taken the captaincy off Vertonghen and given it to Harry Kane.
Yeah.
And it's elevated him, right? For England now, he's the captain instead of Henderson. I think the other thing on Henderson is he's trying to be captain and play a new position.
Yeah.
That's a fucking lot to do in a game.
It's a big ask, yeah.
It's a big ask to suddenly come back from injury, be captain, be in a new position, be fighting for your place. And the final thing I would say is I think the best captains are usually centre-halves because the game takes place in front of them.
Yeah.
And they can see what's happening and they can dictate. They're also not 100% switched on all the time the way you have to be in centre midfield. at a centre half, you can take a minute out of the game, have a look what's going on, talk to players around you, talk to the referee or whatever. If you're playing centre midfield, particularly in this team, you're always looking for the ball. When do you have time to do it?
Should give doing Alden then. He's loads to do.
Should give it the fucking love run.
He's loads of time.
Here's
Give it the love
40 came in with the first question
Give
since
it
we
a
come
minute,
back online. If we had two decent centre backs, would you ever consider Matip at central defensive midfield at the base of the midfield?
No.
Personally, I wouldn't.
No.
I don't think he has.
That's a really
I think
far-fetched one, isn't it?
I think
That's
he's played
that's
there.
Well, listen, it's like Eric Dyer, who's come in and out of centre half and central
it's
midfield.
the gold-plated toilet seat question, isn't it? We haven't got one good centre half at the minute.
No, but he's saying if we had two good ones,
Is he capable of playing
Is he
defensive?
capable of
I'm
playing
sure
in
he
that
is capable
position?
of playing in the position, yeah. But
See,
is he
but
good enough? I don't think so.
I can't think of anyone. Yaya Toure maybe, who stepped out of centre half and played in midfield, but it's a completely different skill set.
There's
And he
more-
hasn't-
there's
and
more
he hasn't
chance-
got the fucking pace to play centre half.
But can I
never
say
mind centre
something?
midfield.
There's more examples of centre midfielders who step
Dropping
back
back.
in
Yeah,
as centre
exactly.
backs than centre backs stepping into centre midfield.
Yeah, but it depends what you want them to do, Phil. Because if you play for a team that's 10th, 11th, 12th in the league, and you want them to just sit in front, screen and block, and all this sort of stuff, fine. But you can't tell me the style we play that Matip could go in there and start attacks with these balls like we've spoken about, Gerrard hitting and stuff like that.
You put him in
So,
midfield, the opposition would
You
have
put
a
Matip
field
in a
day.
midfield for a team lower down the league that he might be able to screen and be defensively good, but he's not going to. Like, we're all looking for Jordan Henderson to take a ball on the half turn and start attacks.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Matip coming out of there, I don't.
No, I
that
think I
that
don't-
chap's asking a question. I wouldn't think.
Paul
Yeah.
McGrath was really good at it. It's the only one
Who?
that comes to mind. Paul McGrath when he played for Ireland.
midfielder started as midfielder.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Because you never had the ball.
He's a centre half, but hold on, how did you?
You never had the ball.
Are you looking forward to Russian? There's someone there.
Fucking
Shut
Jack
up.
Charlton.
the bottle of
Back in
vodka.
your box there.
The bottle of vodka is as close as the Russia he'll be getting.
Paul
One of
McGrath
them-
stood
one
in
of
the
them
middle. It was
down
like
the
he was
dog.
watching tennis, just watching the ball go over his head all day.
Well, that when we were at the World Cup in Italy that time. Or was it in America?
Was that 1990, 1994? Someone else here says
Talking to
Farrell
Malcolm.
W said, where will Liverpool finish in this finish the season?
Let's
in the Premier League?
let's come back to that later on
Okay.
because I want to stick on the Man U game because it is the only thing that only real Liverpool
The only
question.
game in town,
It's
Phil.
the only game in town, right? So, given United start, given it's their first tough game, there's a real chance for us to show them up as just being shit team bully boys. Now, teams have won the league just by doing that, right?
Yeah.
But if we don't,
Arsenal have made top 4 for the last fucking 10 years doing
I
it.
know,
It's the first real test for them. I see what you're saying,
But it's
Phil.
also a real test for us, given what happened in the City match, and given the way things haven't been great against the bad teams, which we were hoping we'd improve on this season. We're starting to turn these bigger matches into must-win occasions, which is not what you want to be doing this early in the season. And I don't mean it like if we don't win, our season's over, right?
No.
But we're putting ourselves under pressure to start accumulate the 3 points in these matches where we should have picked them up, say against the Burnleys and the Newcastles and stuff like that.
I think we're looking for a spark to our season. I really do. There's no standout game so far. Arsenal probably.
Just need to go on a run.
Just need to go on a run. But no, we're looking
5 seasons.
we're looking for a spark to the season, and there's nothing bigger than United at home or away to do that. But it's always a massive game. But this one, for Liverpool fans, I think is one where we prove to people that we're good enough, and against that we have to kind of prove that this United start is not a flash in the pan, but has been more overhyped than.
But they haven't played a team in the top 10, have they?
No, I think they've won 6 of their first 7, and I think 5 of them are currently in the bottom 6.
We
or
can't
7,
usually
so.
see that as a like.
No, you can't.
Wait, you
No,
think what happened against Burnley and
No,
Watford? Like, well, 6 points there.
Neil,
You know what
I want to.
Oh,
No,
sorry, not
I think
0.6.
I think it's actually a very important point because the teams they were dropping points to all the time at home last year were the teams in the bottom 5, 6 and 7 all the time. They were going there and those teams were just holding out and getting a draw or getting a 1-1 or getting a 0-0, and they were confident of taking points off United. Whereas Mourinho, for all his detractors and the whole lot, he's gone out and he's addressed his weaknesses in the side, or it looks like he's addressed the weaknesses in that side. But the key question is, can he launch a title challenge just by beating those shit teams and not worrying against the top teams, which is what he would have done in his pomp. Like he
always was happy to take a draw against the big teams because it meant they didn't get any further away from him, and knowing that his team would outperform the others around
against
him,
the rubbish
against
sides,
the mid-table and shitty teams.
But you'll only know that when he plays, when he does play Liverpool, Arsenal, Chelsea, City, Spurs, when he plays against all of them, when they're all out of the way for the first round of games or whatever, then you'll know where he stands.
Dave?
I mean, I think that, it is, I agree with Gavin that I think this is an opportunity for us to show that, we're doing the right things. The worry for Klopp is I think his system or his style of management requires everyone to buy into it 100%, right? Because I don't think his style of play works at 95% or 90%. I think he needs people to give their all for him. And I think if we don't start... Now, bear in mind, he's lost 2 games since February in the league, so it's not like a disaster, right? But if we have another bad game, I think suddenly, psychologically, the players go... He's not changing anything, and maybe this isn't working. And as soon as that starts happening, they don't make that run, they don't put that effort in, they don't whatever, then it starts to become a bit of an issue. So for me, it's not so much that we have to win because it's United or because of us. It's just because of where the team kind of is at the moment. Now, saying that, I think United need to win as well.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think that the question marks over them are going to be, can they do it in the big games? And when you look at what City did to us and the quality of the Chelsea team, I think that if they don't win, suddenly they go to third favourites for the league, instead of maybe favourites, which is where they are now, or one of the favourites. So I think, and I know you're not doing predictions yet, but I think it's kind of a game that's made for us in terms of a big game, kind of must win. Klopp tends to do well, except in finals, tends to do well in these types of games where it's like the pressure's on. So I think he knows he needs a reaction.
The pressure is on.
Yeah.
Pressure will be on by about fucking 3 o'clock on Saturday if we don't get a result in the game.
The point I was making about the match was, you were saying, I was comparing United's start to the season to ours, and the fact that United have played all the lesser teams, but they've beaten them, and then we can't compare our start to the season with them because we played some lesser teams and dropped handy points to them too.
Yeah.
So, but I know where you are, and then to come back to what you were saying, Phil, the fact that Mourinho addressed the main problems were turning draws into wins. So we bought a striker for 90 million and he's scoring loads of goals. So wow, they're winning now all of a sudden. Whereas we done the reverse. We needed someone that was good at defending, so we kept a shit goalkeeper and didn't buy anyone.
Do you know what? I think...
Come here, that's what happened. That is the bones of it.
He has a point.
We kept 2 shit goalkeepers.
But City won the first 10 games last season.
To watch them.
City won the first 10 games last season. Everyone said they'll walk the title, right? And they finished 3rd. So the reality is that we're 8 games into the season, right? You can't draw any conclusions. Look, everyone has question marks over
Absolutely not.
The question marks over United are different to the question marks over us, but they're there. And the question is, okay, so they become flat track bullies a little bit, right? Is that what they are? Or have they actually got enough in their arsenal to go to Anfield, to go to Stamford Bridge, to go to the Emirates, go to the Etihad and win? And that's the question that's over them. And Saturday's going to tell us a little bit about that.
And what you were saying about the mood around the camp, Dave, as well, if you notice as well, when the first team were breaking up for international duty, there was some little murmurs in the press, it's probably a nice time to get away from Liverpool and God. That's not good to hear that. You don't want to be hearing that.
And that's what I said and as fans, we've got a role to play in this as well, right? Which is, people are already questioning whether after 2 years Klopp is a flop. I saw something on the BBC today. Is he a success or a flop? Well, the truth is he's neither really right now because he's 2 years into the fucking job. Yeah,
he's doing a fine job, but he hasn't achieved.
But
anything
once
yet.
you start down that path, the mood of the place changes, the mood of the press changes, so we need something that just takes us out of that for a minute.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. The longer that it goes on like that, the more it will breed contempt.
The more mad people say mad things. Whereas if we win, you can tell everyone to fuck off, but it doesn't matter.
When is the next Champions League match?
Next Tuesday.
So if we beat United and beat Maribor, then all of a sudden everything is rosy, isn't it?
Yeah. You've taken.
But the pressure is on to win.
And you've hands Van Broken hands and goal down.
There's literally no team in the league that is more than 2 games away from a crisis. There's nobody.
Yeah, not this stage of the season.
You know what I mean? Everyone's in crisis.
Two losses on the bounce and all
away from a crisis.
Arsenal one draw in the Emirates. They're in crisis. So
right. Look, United themselves, anyone we particularly fear? Like Mkhitaryan for all his fatness in the summer when he had his nipple rings and everything done, right?
Yeah,
He
like,
was brilliant, wasn't he? It was like a fake belly he had on.
It's like he walked in with
Or
a fake.
like
He was like
my
up to-
belly.
He reminded me of Bad Sander. You know Bad Sander? He was like him in a United jersey.
But it's like,
But he's been excellent.
there's Lukaku, there's Martial.
I think Fellaini being out was a big deal.
I think Fellaini.
I do
I
as
think
well.
it takes away an awful lot of
I
their
think
real
because
nastiness.
maybe if he wasn't going to start, even if he's going to come on for the last 15 minutes and they start kind of
Lumping
high ball
high
into the
balls
box
in.
and our two lads are shitting themselves. Fellaini,
Do you know
I think he's
if
out.
I was inclined to bet on first United goal scorer, the two players I'd worry about, one is Mata, because he always fucking scores against us, and he's a very smart player. So he's the type of player that can work out Lovren and Matip and Moreno.
Within 10 minutes.
He'll work that out.
and find a gap.
And do you know who the second one will be? Fucking Valencia.
Yeah.
Down that right wing against Lovren and
Is it Valencia
Right.
or Young
Moreno.
likely to play? Probably Valencia.
Well,
Valencia.
Young will play left and then Valencia will play right.
Is Young
So-
playing left back for them?
He has
He
been,
has
yeah.
been,
Oh, he has been, okay.
Yeah.
So if I
because
was a-
haven't-
If I look at the
If
last,
I was a betting man, I'd say Mata or Valencia for first goal would be for
John O'Shea.
United would be a very good bet.
I think, yeah, like looking at it, looking at their probably what there was their closest to their biggest game so far, with the away match to Southampton, and he started Young and Valencia in the two full.
I watched that match actually. They were very poor, but they got a win.
Yeah,
And
Who's playing centre half for them? Is it
they had Jones and
and
Bailey.
Bay? Is it?
Yeah.
Lukaku actually, one of the goals he scored against Southampton, he basically just bullied the centre, pushed him out of the way.
But see, that's my big worry, and
That's
it's not even.
what I'm getting on.
It's not even
Our
a-
lads won't be able to put up with that.
If Lukaku targets Matip and Mignolet, right, at some stage he's going to get a free shot and goal.
His second goal against Southampton was a perfect example of anybody seeing it. He just nudged the centre, literally two hands,
Yeah.
pushed him out of the way,
And,
then went and won the
and
header and scored.
Mkhitaryan, I can't tell you now. The one thing Mourinho will do, Mkhitaryan and Mata will stand just in front of Mignolet and just be awkward to get around. It's the same as what Watford did, and the same with every other team that when they see Mignolet play.
Do you know who? And Phil's gonna have a fucking heart attack here, but a fit Lucas Leiva playing in midfield would be right for this game, to stand on Lukaku's toes and win the second balls, because that's what Henderson doesn't do.
40 says,
Why not play Milner then?
has Matic been the real key to United's form so far this season? Like,
He's part of it.
We talk about, and he is part of it. You're right, and I was going to go on to that. We talk about Lukaku being brought in and bought to solve their crisis for a striker up top when Ibrahimovic was going to be out. Matic has made a massive difference to that midfield, and there's no two ways about it. Watching them in the couple of games I have watched them. He's been excellent.
But
He's
there is two
absolutely
ways
run the show.
about it, because he's playing against poor midfield that don't want the ball. He hasn't
He's also
played
a
against a
very good
quick
footballer
midfield
too,
player. Well, let's see how he does against a quicker midfield, which we should have on
I
Saturday.
seem to remember him doing quite well against us for Chelsea.
Matic is a good player. The thing I've heard from United fans
No way.
talking to them, yeah, you told me he was.
Yeah, he's a good lad.
And then you told me to shut up and not argue. But the thing the United fans have said to me is that they've been ruthless. And not only in front of goal, but defensively ruthless.
they don't give away chances.
Give away
Don't
nothing.
give away goals.
They literally get their back four, their two wide men sit in. They
It's
will
almost
defend
like
when they need
Jose
to defend.
Mourinho manages them.
And then they will just gradually, gradually move their way up the pitch. And again, they get people around Lukaku, and they're forcing chances more than anything else. They really are.
It's bamboozling. Like,
It's
I-
amazing,
I don't
isn't it?
It's
understand
almost
it.
like they're like them good football teams
Yeah.
that don't give away out
It's
in
like,
scorelouts.
it's like this world-class manager, this
Literally
world-class
like that.
manager who has a track record
Of
for
winning the league.
success
Yeah.
and setting up teams very well defensively,
and
and
a
then
£250 million.
and being able to spend shitloads of money because he goes to the clubs
On
that are willing
really
to spend
good
it,
players.
has joined one of the richest team in England and made them better. I'm astounded by it, to be honest with you.
It's
myself,
stunning.
but
It's a stunning find
that's
by United.
mad.
It really is. I mean, I wonder what their secret to success is.
Yeah.
You know.
Right, before we go any further, this is the end of the Periscope bit. See us next week.
That's nice of her. Look.
Skillzone.ie. T's and C's apply. So, Kevin, what would you say your main skills are?
Rugby, soccer, Gaelic, tennis, climbing, basketball, shooting, golf, baseball, and hanging tough.
Test your sports skills at Skillzone, Ireland's first multi-sports indoor circuit. Be the first to get 100 points and you'll also win €10,000. Skillzone Sandyford. See skillzone.ie. T's and C's apply.